Thank you. I'm very honored to be asked to speak in front of you, especially to be recognized as a social justice advocate. I have two older brothers, and as a child, one of them was very kind of mean to me. He would pick on me a lot. I was really sensitive, and so we would argue a lot and generally separate, go to our rooms. When we emerged from our rooms, he acted as though nothing had happened. This was really hard for me because I do not process conflict by myself. I need to be heard in order to resolve the conflict. I became a peer mediator in high school, and I worked with other students to allow them to have a platform to talk about how they felt when they had conflict and to really be able to resolve the conflict. 4 years ago, I first heard about nonviolent communication. It changed my life. I was getting over an emotionally and psychologically abusive relationship. My partner at the time had told me that he had a former partner who emotionally abused him, and he needed to be validated, and he was triggered when I did not validate him. However, he was asking me to validate him when he was negating what I was saying. He would make up stories in his mind, and he would make up ways that I was feeling. To validate him would have been self-abusive. But through nonviolent communication, I realized that what he really needed was somebody to hear his feelings. I could have listened better to what he was saying, to hear his feelings and his unmet needs, and to work to see if I could meet those needs. And probably I wouldn't be able to, and I'd be where I am now. Nonviolent communication I've attended a lot of nonviolent communication workshops, and it's really changed my life. It's changed my approach to conflict resolution. A lot of the reason I can do this is that I have a growth mindset, which means that I think that I can always grow and become a better person. And in conflict resolution, this looks like recognizing that there are things that I could do differently. In conflict resolution, there's also a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset looks like not trusting anybody to be able to change, not trusting yourself to change. If somebody has a fixed mindset, the conflict needs to be resolved internally with in the other people involved in the conflict. As I said, from my childhood, I have a wound of not feeling heard, and I can't always resolve conflict internally. This puts a barrier for me in my activism. Activism, as I've adapted from early childhood classes, is about learning, planning, and doing. I generally gloss over the planning phase because I just need to get my message out there and be heard. Whatever works for you, and you have all been spending the past 4 years or past few years learning. In social justice, this means maybe asking what systems are in place, why are they there, what other systems have been tried, what works, what doesn't work, what has yet to work with a growth mindset. And most importantly, as far as personal impact, how do I contribute to this system, and what can I do differently? If you enjoy asking these questions and learning, then there are lots of options for you. You can be a researcher. You can be a writer. You can write on social media. You can blog. You can be a reporter. You can make documentaries. If you have the planning skills that I do not have, you might found or be the executive director or be on a board of a nonprofit or mission-driven organization. I've tried to found organizations and am no longer involved in any of them because the planning phase is really hard for me. I tried to run for city council. I had a vision. I had a vision of using social justice in decision-making for the city. And I didn't have a plan for how to get there. I just wanted it to happen so badly and needed to be heard, so I got up and ran. And being invited to speak here today has made me realize that, while my plan might not have played out, or the plan that I didn't have didn't play out, I'm at least being heard and getting the message spread a little bit. I'm also a songwriter, and I have a musical album on Bandcamp. But without the planning phase, it's not a very musically interesting album, and most people don't really want to listen to it because I didn't do the planning phase. I really like the doing phase. I'm on the Daily Camera editorial advisory board, and we get our assignment. This means I write a short piece every 2 weeks. We get our assignments on Wednesdays. They're due Fridays, and I work full time. So I don't have a lot of time to learn about the topic or to plan my writing. I just have to write. So I write and I submit it, and then it's published on Saturday. And this works really well for me because I'm a doer. I'm also a preschool teacher. This is a really important part of my identity right now because I think that kids are the future, and I've tried to work with adults to see change, and most adults tend to have a fixed mindset about most things. So it's a lot better for me to work with children and see that growth. I used to volunteer a lot, which is another aspect of doing, and I really enjoy direct action, which is another aspect of doing. But most activism involves a combination of learning, planning, and doing, and it especially involves an iterative process, so returning to keep learning and keep planning throughout the process. As I said, I'm a preschool teacher, and I found this job in 2011. I thought I'd be doing it for the rest of my life. I loved it so much. In 2013, 6 feet of sewage filled my school, and we had to shut down. We were temporarily relocated, and as a doer, I thought, I'll just keep going. I'll just keep doing it because the kids need me. But that didn't give space for me. I needed to revisit my plans, my visions. I needed to relearn. What does teaching look like? Why am I in this field? So I started working at 3 different schools as a substitute. And I learned different systems that different schools use. I returned to the idea that my school, Homestar, was the best school for me because of its empathetic approach to education. A few months later, however, I had a stroke. The doctors are really perplexed. They have no idea what happened. But what I know happened inside me is that I became more irritable. It was hard to be around children 5 days a week, so I took a day off. I worked for 4 days every week, and it was working out really well for me. So well that I was offered a lead teacher position, which required 5 days a week. So now, after a year of working 5 days a week, I'm returning to my learn, plan, do phase, where I have to re-envision, what do I want to be doing? What am I trying to accomplish? How am I getting there? I don't know where I'll be in a few years, but I do know that I'm willing to go where I go. Who knows what might happen? There might be a natural disaster. There might be some strange health thing that comes up. You might just change internally. But if you're passionate about social justice, you'll find a way, you'll find a balance within the learning and planning and doing and all the things you do. You'll find a balance to be able to continue bringing your work forward. Do what feels right to you. If you are fluid, you will be able to flow with the river. If a flood comes and you're solid, you'll just go downstream. If a flood comes and you're fluid, You can become the stream and direct its flow.